In this era of constant and never-ending change, corporate leaders face the mounting challenge of burnout and declining mental health in the workplace. Through her business, The Happy Path, our next speaker helps corporate organizations build change capability in their people. Today, she will share with you her 3 guiding principles to improve the mental health and productivity of your organization. Dianne McCabe began as a change coach and facilitator over 10 years ago. She is a certified life coach and a mental health first aider. She is the recipient of the prestigious SAP Global Best Practices Award for Project Harmony, a $37 million transformation program impacting 3,000 people across Australia, New Zealand, India, and the United States. Dianne confesses that while she can readily mobilize corporate organizations through change, she sometimes struggles to get her daughter ready for school. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Dianne McCabe.
As a leader, have you ever felt concerned about the mental health of your organization? Have you ever felt concerned about the mental health of a team member or even your own mental health? We as leaders have a duty of care to the people in our organizations and to their mental well-being. And as leaders, we get this intellectually, but we sometimes have trouble translating that understanding into action. I have found in my 10 years specializing in organizational change that we have well and truly moved out of the era of continuous improvement into an era of constant and never-ending change. And this constant and never-ending change means that we don't get the luxury to recover and recuperate from those big projects and those aggressive targets, because that next big thing is already hurtling towards us. This constant cycle of change has really impacted the way we work together in the workplace. Our conversations have become less caring and more transactional. And there is a worrying correlation between this increase in change and the decline in workplace mental health. So today, I want to work with you because I know as leaders, you want to translate that what we know into action of what we do. So today, I want to show you how to reframe the concept of duty of care, so you can take action in your workplace and translate that into a happier and healthier workplace culture that improves productivity and boosts your mental well-being. And I'm going to get you to look to, instead of the technical definition of what duty of care is, we're going to have a look at history. So duty of care comes from this wonderful principle called the neighbor principle. And it says that every man ought to take reasonable care that he doesn't injure his neighbor. It's such a wonderfully simple concept to care for your neighbor. So why should you care? Well, research tells us that 1 in 5 Australians are struggling with their mental health, and they're taking time off work in 12-month periods. And WorkSafe Australia is telling us that the compensation claims related to those people are higher in duration and higher in cost. So they are costing your organization in terms of productivity and in terms of dollars. So on one hand, we have a care factor that is related to the human element, and there's also the care factor that it's impacting business. And we as leaders are responsible for a thriving business. So why am I standing here and talking to you about this today? Well, I am a former corporate leader, a real person, and I want to put a face to those statistics. I am someone who has struggled with their mental health for a long time in the workplace. And there was a time where I was under incredible pressure working on a major global project, the one in a series of many. And at that time, I was suffering with anxiety, panic attacks. I had failing liver function, and I was spiraling deeper and deeper into depression. Yet nobody in my workplace knew that this was going on. I needed help, but I was afraid to ask. Now, I remember a pivotal moment where I knew that I needed help. 5 a.m. one morning, I'm getting ready for work. My husband and my daughter are fast asleep. And I'm putting on my makeup and I am bracing myself for the day ahead. And as I walk down the stairs, I am confronted by my 6-year-old daughter's whiteboard. And on it is written, "Can I please have some company?" Can you imagine how that felt? I didn't even know how long those words were written there. What I did know in that moment, that is, I was failing. I was failing in my duty of care to my daughter, to my husband, to my team. And the later realization was that I was failing in my duty of care to myself. You can't look after others if you're not looking after yourself. Now, I was to spend the next 3 months. I went to the doctor. I got my mental health referral. I went to see a psychologist. And then I took 3 months off work on paid medical leave to start building myself back up. Now, the reality is, I was one person in that organization. One person. And the statistics are telling us that it's 1 in 5. Employees come into the workplace every single day carrying things that we know nothing about. And we as leaders have that duty of care to look out for them. So my professional and personal learnings, I have come together with a framework, which is to reframe duty of care. And it's to go from duty, the things that we are bound to do by obligation legally, to balance that with care factor, that most basic human emotion that connects us to each other. And this is wrapped up in 3 important guidelines, 3 principles that I bring into the workplace, which are enrolled out as part of speaker engagements, as part of workshops, and tools that people can use to bring action into their workplace. And the first one is care for self. My hard-won one, personal learning, is now translatable because it's not just about me. In these workshops, I help people take and activate personal responsibility for their mental health and well-being. They put into place an action plan so they can plan if the day ever occurs that their mental health goes into decline. They may not get a mental illness, but they will have tools in place to help them as they go over that tipping point, and it will help them to regulate themselves back. Step 2 is to care for others. In the workplace where we're all so busy and no one's looking around at what anyone else is doing, this encourages mindfulness to make sure that we're all mindful of each other, that we look out for each other. But that's not enough. We also need the tools to say, okay, I've learned a little bit about mental health. I've noticed that behavior has changed in the last month. And now I know how to encourage that person to take action. And step 3 is where the magic happens in terms of cultural transformation. And it is around having courageous conversations to get people to step up and ask for help, to encourage people to reach out when they notice something is changing and they offer help. Now, I can't go into the details of this whole framework today, but I do want to give you something that is immediately actionable in your organization. And it is to implement pulse check meetings with the members of your team, your direct reports. And you're going to get a bit uncomfortable as you read what's on the screen behind me, because it's like, I don't want to do a meeting like that. But I want you to get comfortable with the uncomfortable topic of mental health. And I want you to create an environment where people feel it's okay to ask for help. So these meetings done on a fortnightly basis, check the pulse of your organization. And the 2 questions you ask: how do you feel? And what do you need? And you give them breathing space. Now, these questions, they create the opportunity for that person to reach out to you and say they have an issue. But as a leader, you create the opportunity for you and your organization to do early intervention if you notice something that's occurring from a mental health perspective. Now, if you want to bring this up a notch and increase your care factor, then I strongly recommend that you take these pulse check meetings on a walk and talk. As you walk side by side with your colleague or your direct report, you start to slow down your breathing. You match their pace. And you become calm, cool and collected together. It encourages blood flow through the brain, which encourages problem solving. And the lack of eye contact, because you're side by side, encourages 3-point communication, which means you together work on a problem that's out here, not a problem that's a barrier over a desk between you. So today, I really encourage you to go, when you go back to your offices, the 3 things to take away is I want you to reframe the concept of duty of care, to increase your care factor, and to do a pulse check meeting to encourage people to reach out in your organization. Because whether it's in your workplace or whether it's in your personal life, you never underestimate the impact of showing another person that you care. Thank you.